The late afternoon rain fell steadily, drumming against the tin roof of a small garage tucked away on a quiet Portland street. The rhythmic patter filled the space, echoing faintly against the tools, the smell of oil, and the hum of a small heater in the corner. Marcus Thompson stood inside, wiping grease from his calloused hands, when he heard the low sputter of a motorcycle outside, then silence. Through the foggy window, he saw a lone figure standing beside a vintage Harley-Davidson, its chrome dulled by the rain. The woman wasn't panicking. She wasn't even calling for help. She just stood there, drenched, shoulders trembling slightly. Something about her stillness drew Marcus's attention. He knew that feeling of being stranded in the storm, both literally and inside your soul. Without another thought, he dropped the rag and stepped into the rain. That moment, so ordinary and quiet, would change everything. One man who had lost everything, his wife, his dreams, his faith and love, and one woman who had everything the world could offer except what mattered most, someone genuine by her side. Sometimes, fate hides miracles in the simplest acts of kindness. Marcus Thompson was 34 years old, owner of Thompson Auto Care on Belmont Street. The garage was modest, barely big enough for 2 cars, but clean and organized, the walls lined with neatly arranged tools and handwritten notes from loyal customers. A single faded photograph hung near the counter. A younger Marcus grinning beside a red muscle car, his arm around a blonde woman whose smile seemed to light up the entire picture. Sarah, his wife. She had passed away 2 years ago, taken too soon by breast cancer at only 29. Even now, Marcus could still hear her voice on those last nights in the hospital. Her hand, fragile but strong, squeezing his as she whispered, "Teach Lily to be kind, and don't forget to love yourself again." After she was gone, Marcus became a machine, working, sleeping, caring for their daughter, repeating the cycle endlessly. For months, he barely ate. His hair grew wild, his eyes hollow. It wasn't until one morning when his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, looked up from her cereal and asked, "Daddy, why don't you smile anymore, like when Mommy was alive?" that he began to live again. Now, every morning at 6, he brewed coffee and made breakfast, heart-shaped pancakes, or scrambled eggs with toast cut into stars. Lily would sit swinging her little legs, chattering about her dreams. "Mommy said you're great at fixing cars, but terrible at baking," she'd giggle, and Marcus would laugh, the ache in his chest softening. His days were filled with small, honest work. Most of his customers were everyday folks, delivery drivers, students, struggling families. When someone couldn't pay, Marcus never turned them away. "Pay me when you can," he'd say, or sometimes quietly cover the cost himself. He picked Lily up from school every afternoon, and she'd sit in the garage doing homework while he worked. "What does this part do, Daddy?" she'd ask, pointing to a car's transmission. Marcus would smile. "That helps the car change speeds, sweetheart. Like people, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, but both need care to keep going." At night, after tucking Lily in, Marcus would sit in the backyard under the Oregon stars, sipping a beer, wondering if life would ever surprise him again. He hadn't dated since Sarah's death. It wasn't that he didn't feel lonely. He did, but he was afraid. Afraid of loving and losing again. Afraid of letting someone into Lily's heart who might disappear. And yet, life is a way of sending people exactly what they need, even when they've stopped asking. The woman outside, her name was Elena Vasquez, 31 years old, CEO of Vasquez Tech, one of the fastest-growing technology firms in America. Forbes had called her the tech queen under 35. Her office in San Francisco overlooked the bay from 40 floors up, filled with glass, chrome, and silence. People saw her as powerful, brilliant, unstoppable. But they didn't see the loneliness. Elena had built an empire from nothing. Her parents were Mexican immigrants who worked 2 jobs each. Her mother a janitor, her father a handyman. Elena had gone to MIT on scholarships, surviving on coffee and instant noodles while coding through the night. Her dream was simple back then, to create something meaningful, to give her parents the life they never had. And she did. When her software company exploded into success, she bought her parents a beautiful home in Santa Fe. They traveled the world. But with each new success, she felt more trapped. Endless meetings, shallow conversations. fake smiles. Even her fiancé, David Sterling, a polished Wall Street heir, saw her as a business merger, not a partner. "You know, Elena," he once said over dinner, "our marriage will be good for both our portfolios." That night, she ended the engagement. The next morning, she packed a single bag, took her Harley, the one gift she'd ever bought for herself, and disappeared. No security, no assistant, no agenda. She rode north, chasing freedom down the coastal highways, her phone deliberately left uncharged. For once, she wanted to exist without a title. When she reached Portland, the rain began. The Harley sputtered, coughed, and died. She pulled aside of the road, soaked helpless, and completely alone. Through the curtain of rain, she noticed the soft glow of a garage across the street, Thompson Auto Care. For the first time in years, Elena needed help and couldn't buy it. "What's wrong with your bike?" Marcus's voice startled her. He stood in the rain, tall and broad-shouldered, an oil-stained rag still in his hand. His voice was low, grounding. "I'm not sure," Elena said, brushing wet hair from her face. "It just stopped." Marcus crouched beside the Harley, examining it with practiced hands. "Fuel lines clogged," he said after a while, "probably from sitting in used." He looked up, noticing her shivering. "Come inside. You're soaked. I'll fix it when the rain slows." Inside the garage, Elena sat quietly, watching him work. There was something soothing about the way he moved, methodical, patient, no wasted motion. The scent of metal and rain mingled in the air. After 15 minutes, Marcus looked up. "It's a quick fix. $50. Elena blinked. "Are you sure? That seems low. I can pay more." Marcus stopped, meeting her eyes. "Why would you want to pay more? The job's worth $50. His simple honesty left her speechless. In her world, everything was negotiable, every gesture transactional. Here was a man who valued fairness more than profit. Before she could reply, small footsteps pattered from the back room. A little girl appeared, holding a sandwich. "Daddy, I'm hungry." "Did you eat?" she asked, and then spotted Elena. "Hi, you're really pretty." Elena smiled, warmth spreading through her chest. "Thank you. And what's your name?" "I'm Lily. My daddy's great at fixing cars," she said proudly. "He says cars, like people, they need love to run well." Elena's smile faltered for a moment. "He's right," she said softly. "I think I haven't loved this one enough." The rain didn't stop for hours, so Marcus invited her to join them for dinner. Simple spaghetti and salad. Lily chattered happily, talking about her school, her drawings, her dream of becoming a veterinarian. For the first time in months, Elena laughed freely. No boardrooms, no reporters, no expectations, just warmth and conversation that asked nothing of her. When Lily asked what she did for work, Elena hesitated, unsure how to explain billion-dollar contracts to a child. "I work with computers," she said finally, "like making games." "That sounds fun," Lily exclaimed. Elena laughed. "You know what? It kind of is." By the time Marcus finished the repairs, the Harley roared to life again. Elena handed him the money, but paused before leaving. "Would it be okay if I came back tomorrow? I'd like to learn how to take better care of it." Marcus nodded, his expression unreadable but kind. Garage is always open. And she did come back, the next day and the next, at first with excuses about the bike, then simply because she wanted to be there. Maria, the cafe owner next door, noticed right away. "Haven't seen Marcus this cheerful in years," she teased, handing him coffee. Elena blushed, pretending not to hear, but her heart fluttered. Each afternoon, Elena and Lily became inseparable, drawing pictures, baking cookies in the garage toaster oven, talking about dreams. Marcus watched them with quiet awe. The way Elena listened, really listened, was rare. She didn't just nod or humor the child. She cared. For the first time since Sarah's death, the house echoed with laughter again. But as the days passed, Elena's happiness was shadowed by guilt. Every moment she stayed was built on a lie. Marcus thought she was an ordinary traveler. Lily thought she was a new friend. And she was terrified that the truth would destroy everything. Derek forced a smile and stirred his coffee. "Tough morning, huh?" he said lightly, hoping to sound casual. The waitress, whose name tag read Mara, shrugged. "Every morning's tough when you work for tips that barely cover rent. But hey, at least the pancakes don't judge me." He chuckled softly, but inside, something tightened in his chest. Barely cover rent? His restaurant were supposed to pay fair wages, plus tips. That was the policy. When she walked away to grab another order, Derek's thoughts raced. He had launched the Sunrise Diner chain 20 years ago on the belief that hard work should always be rewarded. He'd started from a food truck and built his empire on grit, honesty, and empathy. But as his company grew, the world inside his restaurants had changed, and apparently not all for the better. He took a bite of his eggs. They were cold, but it wasn't the food that bothered him. It was Mara's weary tone, the dark circles under her eyes, the way she'd force a smile through exhaustion. A few minutes later, Mara returned with a fresh pot of coffee. "Refill?" "Please," Derek said, pushing his mug forward. He hesitated before speaking again. "You've been working here long?" 3 years, she said, pouring carefully. "Started when I moved back to town to take care of my mom. She's got arthritis pretty bad, so I pick up double shifts when I can." He nodded, heart sinking further. "That's admirable." She smiled faintly. "Admirable doesn't pay the bills, though. Management says we get good tips, but honestly," she looked around and lowered her voice. "Ever since they cut hours and switched to that new point system, it's been rough. You miss a shift or come in late, they dock your bonus. And the tips? Well, customers think we make more than we do." Derek's pulse quickened. Point system? Docking bonuses? He had never approved such a policy. That was corporate meddling, the kind that hurt the people who made his business thrive. He kept his voice even. "You ever talk to management about it?" Mara snorted. "You mean Greg? The new regional guy?" "Yeah, right. The last girl who complained got her schedule cut to 10 hours a week. You learn to keep quiet." Derek felt the blood rush to his ears. Greg was one of the executives he'd trusted most, someone he promoted just last year. When she walked off again to deliver another order, Derek sat frozen. He'd come here undercover, expecting to hear about great service, maybe spot a few operational flaws. He hadn't expected to find fear, exhaustion, and underpaid loyalty. He watched Mara move between tables, refilling coffees, smiling at customers who barely noticed her. She moved like someone who'd stopped hoping for anything better. An older woman at the next booth waved Mara over. "Miss, my bacon's too crispy." Mara apologized immediately, replaced a plate, and returned moments later with a new one. The woman didn't even say thank you. As Mara turned away, Derek noticed her subtly touch her wrist, red and swollen from carrying trays all morning. When she passed his table again, Derek said quietly, "You ever take a break?" She let out a dry laugh. "Break? You're funny." He smiled faintly. "You deserve one." Her eyes softened for the first time that morning. "Thanks, stranger. Not many people say that." He paid the bill in cash, leaving a generous tip, far more than the total. Mara's eyes widened when she saw it. "Sir, I think you made a mistake," she said, holding out the money. He shook his head. "No mistake. You earned it." She blinked rapidly, her eyes misting over. Thank you. You don't know how much this helps." "I think I do," Derek said quietly. When she turned away to serve another customer, Derek slipped out, his heart pounding. He got into his truck and sat in silence as the rain tapped against the windshield. He'd built Sunrise Diner from the ground up. He remembered the first location, how he'd washed dishes, cooked eggs, and cleaned floors alongside his first 2 employees. Back then, every customer mattered. Every worker was family. But somewhere along the line, that connection had been lost. He grabbed his phone and dialed his assistant. "Janet," he said, voice sharp, "I want a full report on Sunrise Diner number 28. Staffing, management, payroll, and that new bonus system. And get me Greg on the phone now." "Right away, Mr. Langston." The next day, Derek returned, this time without the disguise. He wore his usual navy suit, his company pin shining on the lapel. When he walked through the door, the manager, Greg, froze. "Mr. Langston." Sir, I wasn't expecting. Clearly, Derek said. Let's talk. They went into the small office in the back. Derek closed the door and folded his arms. Tell me about the point system. Greg stammered. Oh, just a way to motivate staff. Reward punctuality and performance. By cutting their pay when they struggle? Derek's tone was low but dangerous. By docking bonuses for people who show up every day, work double shifts, and keep this place running? Greg swallowed hard. It's just policy, sir. Corporate approved. I am corporate, Derek said coldly, and I didn't approve anything that punishes my workers for being human. Greg fell silent. Starting today, Derek continued, that system is gone. Wages are being reviewed, schedules rebalanced, and I want staff meetings at every location. And Greg, you're on leave until further notice. When Derek walked back into the dining area, Mara was wiping down a table. She glanced up and froze. Wait, she said slowly. You're the guy from yesterday. He smiled gently. And you're the best waitress I've seen in a long time. Her face flushed. You're the owner? He nodded. Guilty. Her eyes widened. Oh my God! I didn't know. You didn't say anything wrong, he interrupted. You told the truth, and I needed to hear it. Tears welled in her eyes. You're really fixing things? I already started, he said. No one working this hard should struggle to pay rent. Mara covered her mouth, trying not to cry. Thank you. You don't know what that means. He smiled softly. Actually, I think I do. The next week, a company-wide memo went out announcing wage increases, revised tip pooling, and an employee hardship fund for staff facing medical or family challenges. Derek didn't just issue a press release. He personally visited several diners, talking to workers, listening to their stories, shaking their hands. When he reached Sunrise Diner, number 28, again a month later, the mood had changed. There was laughter behind the counter. The staff looked brighter, more relaxed. And Mara? She was still there, but now as a shift supervisor. When Derek walked in, she grinned. Morning, boss. Pancakes on the house. He laughed. Only if you join me for breakfast this time. She hesitated, smiling shyly. You sure? Absolutely, he said. After all, you're the reason this place feels like sunrise again. As the smell of fresh coffee filled the air, Derek glanced around the diner. The rain still fell outside, but inside, the light felt warmer, not just from the sun creeping to the windows, but from the people who had found hope again. He realized then that leadership wasn't about profit margins or franchises. It was about people, the ones who showed up every morning before dawn, ready to serve strangers with a smile, no matter how tired they were. And for the first time in a long time, Derek Langston felt proud, not of his empire, but of the heart beating inside it.